Þetta gera þeir í Svíþjóð, samkvæmt reglum. En í umræðum sem ég átti við Svía þetta skapar ákveðna hættu og skapar ákveðu konflikt. Ef að innbrotsþjófur fer inn glugga, hann veldur íkveikju í byggingunni, hann kemst ekki út úr hann á flóttaleið vegna þess að flóttaleiðin mögulega læst með 2 læsingum. Önnur læsingin flóttaskrá og ekkert vandamál, panikslá, ekkert vandamál. En svo einhver mótorlás eða segulás aukalega sem tengdur öryggiskerfinu. Þetta svona spurning sem þarf að velta upp. Viljum við fara þessa leiðin eins og Svíarnir? Þeir leyfa þetta. Og þá segja þeir bara, sorry, hann bara inn. Hann var að fara sömu leið út og var kominn. Þar eru reglurnar rýmingu algjörlega sniðgeng. En það alveg rétt eins og þú segir það þurfa allir að koma að þessu. Þetta brunahönnun, þetta arkitektinn og svo aftur þess ráð sem kemur að öryggismálum, aðgangsstýringunni ef svo ber undir í byggingunni. Það spurning.
Það bætist við að allir þessar læsingum og þá aðgengi skapurins hindrað að vera.
Akkúrat.
Stóra sleggjan komin aftur.
Það stóra sleggjan, það málið. Og það þarf að taka svolítið stúning með einmitt slökkviliðsmönnum og þeir sem að koma að úttektum byggingar. Að þeir séu meðvitaður er rétt val á búnaði til staðar. Það ekki nóg að segja bara að það panikslá á hurðinni. En það getur verið algjör drasl í hurðinni sem á engan veginn við. Nokkuð fleira svona sem kemur upp. Þú tekið það eftir ef eitthvað Takk.
Ég ætla að koma því að því að hann Þórir var að tala að Svíarnir væru 15 árum á undan. Í samtali við sænsku sérfræðingarnir okkar kom það nú líka fram að þeir lentu í ákveðinni reynslu. Það var bruni í diskóteki þar sem að margir unglingar dóu og sænska þjóðin bara gerði kröfu að hlutirnir yrðu lagaðir. Og það er alltaf mjög sorglegt að það þurfi svona atburð til þess að fólk fara að huga að ýmsu þar á meðal búnaði í hurðum. En svona er þetta oft. Næst á dagskrá eru mínir frá Svíþjóð. Joakim Eriksson sem ætlar að byrja aðeins á að kynna bara eiga nokkur orð Assa og síðan Henrik Nystedt sem vörustjóri yfir flóttaleiðabúnaði hjá Assa. Ég ætlaði líka að minnast á að við erum að fá meiri veitingar fljótlega. Ég ætla að fá athuga hvernig gengum með það þegar ég bara kennir þessu við. En það komið kaffi og það komið keks, sá ég. Svo fáum við samlokur og eitthvað eftir stuttastöðum. Ég ætlaði líka að minnast á að við erum með vörubækling frá Assa sem að þeir sem að hafa áhuga með að fá. Við erum líka með bækling frá Assa í Þýskalandi sem heitir Protecting Lives and Property og þennan flóttaleiðabúnað. En bjóðum Joakim og Henrik velkomna.
Thanks. Hi, just sorry to changing language. We haven't had the possibilities with Icelandic yet. Maybe next time. Short introduction. Assa AB Sweden, located in southern part of Sweden, founded in long way back in history, 1881. A guy called August Stenman, also the name August Stenman, August. That's Assa. We are are working mainly in around the door with a lot of products, access control, motor locks, cylinders, as you know, and also architectural hardware, where we should spend the most of the day today with the very important topic of emergency exit and panic devices. We are belonging to an international group, ASSA ABLOY, founded in '94, back in history, and have been a long journey. And today we are a lot of people involved in the lock business, over 7,000 people around the world, and have operations in 70 plus countries. So we have a lot of representing in the markets and a lot of products. But now we will just focus by our help here with Henrik in the emergency exit and panic devices. So please, thanks.
That was the wrong. Okay. Good morning. Hope you hear me. Otherwise, I use the speakers, but I'll try to speak loud. My name is Henrik Nystedt. I'm the product manager at ASSA AD for our emergency and panic exit devices. I will, just as Tore did, I will talk a little bit about the standards EN 1125 and 179. That's the emergency exit products is today's topic. As Joachim said, we can offer you everything around the door, but today we're talking about this exit devices. I will show you some of our products. Some of them are here on the table. Of course, there are a lot more. I will show you and talk a bit about the new standard called EN 13637. And of course, I will also show you some reference objects. I even found one here on Iceland. The standards, the European Committee started in 1989 to work with these standards. When they looked at the available products, they soon found out that we have to do two different standards. And they came up with this EN 1125 for panic bars, and we have the EN 179 for emergency exit devices, which can be with a lever handle or with a push bar. So there are two ways solving the EN 179 products. The standard, they started to work with it in 1989, and the first version of standard was ready in 1997. And during this work with the standards, we had started to develop products. So we were very soon on the market with this kind of products. As Tore described, the standard the standard talks about the characteristics of the products and how to test them. But you have to look in your national building regulations to know where to use them. And I know that I don't understand Icelandic, but I know that Tore talked about your national building regulations. For example, in facilities with over 50 persons, you use the EN 179 products. And if you have over 150 persons, you use the 1125 standard products. But you have to find out more about the escape routes, the dimensions and everything in your building regulations. Of course, we have the same thing in Sweden. Maybe you've seen these. We have used these kind of products in Sweden, and probably you've been using these kind of products here in Iceland. These are not certified, tested and certified products. You can see some of these products in older buildings, probably here and absolutely in Sweden also. But today we don't recommend these products at all in escape routes, because they are not tested and certified. Some of these products are still in use, like this thumb turn with a cover to prevent people from turning the thumb turn if you use, for example, motor locks. Because if you turn the thumb turns all the time on motor locks, you might destroy the gearbox in the motor locks. So, and the motor locks are quite expensive, so you don't want to do that. So if you have this kind of products in older buildings, you're perhaps allowed to still use them. But if you're going to rebuild or build a new building, you have to look at the new standards. This is actually a summary of what we can offer you today. We can offer you panic exit devices that are tested and certified according to EN 1125. We can offer you emergency exit devices that are tested and certified according to EN 179. You have some of the products here, panic bars and solutions for EN 179. Almost all of our products use mortise locks. And by mortise locks, I mean like this, built-in lock cases that are built into the door, not any surface-mounted products. This is kind of surface-mounted product, where the lock unit is outside the door. But most of our products have these mortise locks. And depending on the doors, if you have wooden doors or you have profile doors made of steel or aluminium, you can use lock cases with different back sets. The back set is the width of the lock case. So if you have narrow profiles, you use narrow lock cases. This is an example with a lock case that has 50mm back set. The distance between the faceplate here and the turning points of the lock case is 50mm. And that's the most common used lock cases. But if you have narrow profiles, you can have narrow lock cases with the back set 35mm. And you can also have lock cases with 70mm back sets. Not very common here on Iceland or not in Sweden either, but in the UK it's quite common. I've written micro switches. With micro switches I mean that we can get indication of use. And we can get knowledge if someone has used this exit device. We can get indication of if the door is locked or unlocked. And we can get, from other lock cases, we can get indication of use of the cylinder. And from this deadlocking unit, we can know if the door is closed or open, for example. So we can get a lot of information from the lock cases if we use micro switches. Micro switches are an option, so you have to order that extra in lock cases. Many of our solutions are approved for fire doors. The easiest way to solve the holding of a fire door, I mean the door has to be closed in case of fire. The most common way is to use this lever handle latch. When the door is closed, this one is stuck in the strike and holds the door closed in case of fire. And that's very important, of course. Because if you have some kind of lock case with a hook bolt like this, it could be a straight bolt or a hook bolt like this. If it's only this hook bolt, not any latch, you don't know if it's like this or if it's locked. You cannot rely on this being any fire holding function. So you have to use this kind of latches. An unlocked fire door might open if there is some kind of explosion. If you have an open fire door, it's no use. Re-entrance. Do you understand what re-entrance is? Some of you will do. This door, do you think that we need re-entrance here?
No.
No? Of course not, because if we use this door, we get out of the building. And then we are safe, hopefully. But many of the emergency escape doors are interior doors in the building. And as soon as we don't see the last door out of the building, we can meet smoke or fire. And then we perhaps need to go back through the same door that we made the escape from. Go back through the door and get out another way. And to show you how this can be done is by showing this product, for example. If you have this fire door, you make your emergency escape, the door gets in an unlocked position. You see, the hook bolt is locked, but you make your escape. The door is unlocked. You still have the fire holding function for the door, but you can use the handle on the outside to get back in. The door is unlocked. So that's a re-entrance function, a mechanical re-entrance function. You can, of course, use some kind of electrical re-entrance function by having a electric strike with fail-safe function, as we call it. The door gets unlocked if the power is off. You turn on the fire alarm, the system, the power in the system is off, and the door gets unlocked if you have electric strikes in fail-safe mode. Unlocked without power. So re-entrance is, of course, a vital function in some cases. You can have some problems in daily work if you have re-entrance functions on every door. Because if people are using this emergency exit handle all the time to get out, the doors will be in an unlocked position. Perhaps you're going to have some kind of electric strike on the hook bolt or a latch, which you open the door by using the opening button, and you use the handle to get out. But if you use the emergency exit handle, you activate the re-entrance function. Of course, we have solutions which are not re-entrance functions also, absolutely. But this one does. Electric locking. I mean, it's more and more common that we have access control systems. We have door automatics. Many doors do today. We have our card. We pass through every door here and there. And we have to have some electric locking system. And to our products, it's possible to use electric strikes against the lock cases. We can have solutions with motor locks, solenoid locks, and so on. So we can solve the problems that we can get if we have this access control or door automatics, which is more and more common. This is our product range today. We have some of the products here with us. We have a lot of panic bars. They are all tested and certified according to the standard EN 1125. On the picture you don't see any lock cases, but there are several different lock cases. You know, we have lock cases with different functionality. We have lock cases with different back sets depending on the door. We have lock cases with and without micro switch indication. So many of these you connect to a lock case. These 1150 and 1160s are these kind of more simple products. where the lock unit is surface mounted. And one big difference by using these more simple products is when you talk about the re-entrance, actually. Because if you're going to use this kind of more simple products and you want to have re-entrance, now we have a panic bar on both sides here, but if you have a panic bar on the inside, as you should, you can put a handle on the outside of this product. The handle can be an unlocked handle or a locked handle, so you can lock with a cylinder. But if you want to have re-entrance on this kind of product, you put the handle which is unlocked, then the door is open all the time, both on inside and outside. If you have these kind of products with the built-in lock cases, the door can be locked. This door is locked. Now you can go around later and look at these products. This door is locked, as it is now. When I use the panic bar, it gets in an unlocked position. The cylinder latch is unlocked, and you can use the handle on the outside to get back in. But the difference is this door is locked until you have used the panic bar. This is always unlocked if you want to have the re-entrance function. And of course, it's more easy to use electric strikes against these kind of lock cases than doing it towards this lock units. We have, of course, solutions for active door leaves, these 1125 and 1130. If you have a double door, you use the 1125:1 or 1130:1 on the passive door leaf. 1150 and 1160 are these kind of products. And the 179s, these are the most common products in Sweden. We use, I think probably this is the most, absolutely most common. 179A, and together with lock case 710. And with that one you have the re-entrance function. If you have narrow profile doors with back set, you use the lock cases back set 35 millimeters. You have accessories for narrow profile. You see this, the faceplate is very narrow, and you can only use the oval cylinders. On these products you can use both oval and round cylinders. I think it's not very common with round cylinders here, but it's possible. We have solutions also for motor locks. 179C and D are solutions for Abloy motor locks, which can be used in access control systems and together with door automatics. And this one has become very popular in Sweden, the 179E. You have the Abloy EL580, a very common solenoid lock with split spindle. You can use it with this 179E exit device. There's a new standard coming. It's not published yet, but it should be right around the corner, so we hope it will be here very soon. If you have an emergency exit door and you have a normal, I would say it's an electrically controlled emergency exit system. You control the door by electrical system. You have a normal door with a panic bar or an emergency exit device according to EN 1125 or 179, as usual, as we do all the time, but we put an extra locking device on the door. The locking device can be an electric strike put together with a lock case. The lock case can be some kind of dummy. It doesn't have to be any cylinders or anything, but you have electric strike together with some kind of dummy with a latch, so you get a locked door. This electric lock should be in fail-safe mode, and that means that it's unlocked without power. If the power is off, the door is open. We have to be safe. That's the main thing, of course. Then we connect this lock to a escape door control terminal. It's a push button, actually. A little bit more complex than a normal button. You can have some more functions, of course, from it. This escape control unit, when using it, you can have no time delay. As soon as you push the button, the lock gets unlocked, and you can use the panic bar or the exit device to get out immediately, 0 seconds. Difference between the EN 179 and 1125 is that now you are allowed to use 2 actions. Push the button, then use the panic bar or exit device. Otherwise, we only use 1 action to get out. But with this standard, you can use 2 actions. And of course, if you have this 0-second delay, you might think, oh, that's really no use of this kind of product, actually. Of course, there will be an alarm when you push this button, and staff can go through the door and see what's happening, of course. But really, we want to use some time delay. And there will be a possibility to use the T1 time delay with maximum 15 seconds, which can be useful. We have 15 seconds to get to the door and see what's happening. That might be enough in some cases. But it's also possible to have T2, an extra time delay of 100 and up to 180 seconds. That's quite a long time. So if you push the button here, you can have time delay 15 seconds plus up to 180 seconds. But if you have this kind of time delay, CMC is required, Central Management Control. The door has to be overviewed by the monitor. There is a control room with people working all the time. When someone pushes the button, you can see what's happening at the door with the video camera. And they can choose if they will clear the time so you can get out right away, if there is really an emergency or kind of exit situation. Or they can choose to have this long time delay so they can get security persons to the door and see what's happening. And now we're of course thinking, where are we going to use this kind of products? Some of you might have an
Shopping mall?
absolutely. Do we have any other suggestion?
Airports?
Airports, absolutely. You can read. You can read in the papers, so it's not so. Of course, good. Some more cases. What do you think about this? We can use it in preschools. We don't want the children to get out of the buildings when they are not allowed. It's not very nice to be a parent